At the start of this year, I've had a particular itch for playing a horror game, because what better time to start preparing for Halloween than 2 days right after New Year's Eve. If you've been following the channel for a while, you probably know that I'm a fan of the more abstract type of horror. Sure, I like my marketable mascots that jump at you, but the games I really like are the ones that make me feel like I'm on an acid trip. Games that I can really sink my teeth into and savor them like a glorious 5-star meal. And I just so happened to stumble across this little game called Anatomy, made by Kitty Horror Show, who some of you may already know for her uttered weird and abstract games. And it also just so happened that Anatomy was exactly what I was looking for. Now with a name like that, you might already have a few images racing around that little head of yours. Are we gonna be looking at some body horror? Is there gonna be a lot of fleshy sounds that make your stomach curl after every single MP3 file played? Well, no, not exactly. The answer isn't really as simple as that. The difference between Anatomy and the more generic horror game is that Anatomy uses its setting as an advantage, and this is done masterfully all throughout the game. Like at this point, with many other games, you might find it easy to just stroll around and not even care about the scares.
He possessed some dog toys.
But with Anatomy, this never happened, as the game constantly requires your attention, but not in a way that makes it seem like it's jingling keys in front of you every 5 seconds. Ooh, did you see that? There was a 1-frame hidden image that may or may not be relevant to the lore. Ooh, I'm sure MatPat will enjoy dissecting this frame. Oh, wait, fuck, man. Before the video starts for real, you should go and play Anatomy for yourself blind. It's literally $3 on itch.io, and you'd be doing yourself a disservice if your only interaction with the game is through this shitty video. With that being said, enjoy. Oh, and did you know only a small number of you are actually subscribed? To properly talk about Anatomy, we first need to do a tiny little history lesson. And I know it's a funny meme when YouTubers first talk about the evolution of making a wheel, when the topic of the video is, would Freddy FNAF Bear enjoy strawberry ice cream? But I'll keep it brief, I promise. There are a few things that go together as perfectly as horror and the concept of a haunted house. Along with ghosts and in general the undead, a haunted house is perhaps the staple of all things spooky that make you dookie. There is an argument to be made that most, if not all, closed-off haunted spaces that were once supposedly brimming with life, that are supposed to be familiar to you, all stem from the basic idea of a haunted house. So, in a way, many of your perhaps favorite scary internet stories can be seen as just another take on the haunted house. Think something along the lines of spooky entity in your single-player Minecraft world, an ominous sound playing inside the sandbox of Gmod, and yes, even the backrooms count in that category. But as scary as exploring any haunted location can be, there is a more primal sense of dread knowing that a home has been intruded by a malicious entity. In many horror stories, a character exploring the unknown usually has points in their journey where they get to rest, where they're safe and they get a break from the horrors. But what do you do when the place you should feel the safest in has been taken over as well? This question was asked many years ago, and the first story of a haunted house that we know of is by Pliny the Younger, written almost 2,000 years ago. The story talks about a house in the Athens that is haunted by the ghost of an old man. Eventually, a philosopher called Athenodorus, that sounds like a fucking dinosaur name, purchased the house and exorcised the ghost by simply ignoring it and focusing on his work, probably making the very first meme depicting himself as a Chad philosopher and the spirit as the annoying ghost jack. Tangent aside, it's interesting how many tropes we have today can be dated back to a millennia ago, and much like many of them, the haunted house has evolved over time, becoming more than just a location, as eventually it became a character of its own. Enter Anatomy, quite literally, as almost the entire game is set inside a singular abandoned house. At the start of the game, after hearing the sound of someone putting a tape inside a VHS player, we see the title of the game, a date telling us when our character is taking this recording, and we're dropped off inside the house. I should preface this by saying that the game itself doesn't offer much when it comes to actual controls. You aren't exactly gonna get ultra kill levels of gameplay on your screen. Shit, I think I made that joke already. Anatomy knows what it is. It's a game that relies heavily on its atmosphere and themes. So much so that surprisingly, there's no marketable mascot anywhere in sight I will, however, say it has the edge over I'm Scared, another game I've covered in the past, which is a very good video that you should check out, because unlike in that game, you have the ability to jump. Needless to say, the thing you'll be faced with the most during the game, other than the singular droning noise that plays the entire time, is these. Throughout the game, scattered across the house, you'll find cassettes, and the main objective of the game is bringing them back to the tape player. I wonder if there's any young baby whippersnappers watching this video that don't know what cassettes are. Yes, I am over the age of 20, I am allowed to use the word whippersnapper. Fuck you.
In the psychology of the modern civilized human being, it is difficult to overstate the significance of the house.
This is the opening line of what seems to be a scientific paper or even a YouTube video essay. Oh god fucking damn it. These excerpts are what drives the game forward, and through them we slowly get the idea of what's going on in this random house we're placed in. As we look for them, we may see these really weird and creepy paintings, and one of them might even be of the people living inside the house before it was abandoned. We never learned much about these fellas, but the paintings may give us some clues and let our imaginations run wild. The skeleton dogs, the diagrams of a body, and even the fact that there's 2 bathrooms may lead us to believe that the person living in here might have been a surgeon. They might have even been the ones who made all these tapes. All of this is, however, pretty irrelevant, as whoever was in here has seemingly completely left this house to rot. The fact that we're alone here at first doesn't seem as scary until we hear doors open up around the house as we progress through the game. I don't like how loud that is. This is what starts the ever-increasing paranoia as you explore, because you never know who or what might be in the next room you're about to enter. It doesn't help that the tapes are incredibly loud, so even if nothing attacked you in the previous room, who's to say you aren't attracting anything by being next to the only source of noise in the entire goddamn house? Horror games have almost drilled this notion into our brains that being loud is intrinsically bad. The creature chasing us is usually highly susceptible to sound, so doing anything that's louder than a fly buzzing by is usually a sign you fucked up. This can also be tied to the survival instinct of our ancestors, or even trying to stay as quiet as possible when playing Call of Duty at 3 AM on a school night.
30-29 on my second game of controller. I'm doing pretty good, no?
I was not in the script. He's a comedian, he's improvising.
Even throughout my playthrough of the game, I started being so paranoid that even noises that were coming from another room rather than the game started putting me on edge. What the fuck? What? Okay, I'm gonna play that back, but I think I heard like a muffled sound. This is all to say that every single time I had to open a creaky ass door, I was fully expecting a press shift to run or hide prompt to appear on top of my screen. And it is also all of this that makes the fact that you can break all of the plates in the dining room even funnier. All of the tapes we collect throughout the game each talk about one of the rooms of a house, its organs, and correlate them to a specific body part, the organs of our own body. So obviously the living room is the heart, the dining room is the stomach, and so on. Using common sense, you'd immediately agree with the narrator in that the bedroom would represent the mind, and the basement, something you dread. A dark, empty, cold area where your darkest thoughts would be. A place you wouldn't even want to spend a second more than what is required. This description naturally puts you on edge, even more so when you read the text on the screen saying there is a tape in the basement. No, come on. No, don't make me go to the basement. While I was playing the game, obviously I ran down and up those basement stairs as fast as humanly possible. But looking back, the basement has absolutely nothing in it. It's an empty, desolate space, and the only reason I went there was to grab the tape and head out, akin to what the narrator said a minute ago. In a clever bait and switch, we realize that the only thing scarier than something lurking in the shadows of a cold, dark basement is being left alone with your own waking thoughts. And so, we head to the master bedroom, a blood-red room in which we collect one more tape. A tape which shuns the mind comparison to the side for a more unnerving one. The bedroom isn't a mind, it's a mouth. one we choose to trust every single night of our lives while unconscious to keep us safe and to not bite down to consume us. This is when the first part of the game draws to a close, as the game itself closes, and it's up to us to open it again. The narrator's words lingering with us in the meantime. And if I may for a second start reaching, the master bedroom in which we heard the mouth comparison in even resembles one thanks to its decoration. All of the furniture is this really light brown or even white color, representing teeth, and the best similarity is the color of the walls. It's the same shade as that of a mouth, and in that case, the bed is the same shade as a tongue. Again, maybe a reach, but this is also my channel, and I get to do whatever the fuck I want. So far, all of the descriptions kinda reminded me of a movie I used to watch as a kid called Monster House. A 2006 movie in which a group of kids investigate a creepy old neighbor in his even creepier house. This is the movie the Hello Neighbor developers probably looked at and said, what if it was absolute dog shit? Anyway, while some of the comparisons in the movie don't match with anatomy, such as which part of the house is the mouth, there's also those that do. The windows being the eyes, the furnace or the fireplace being the heart, and so on. Even the inside of the house is incredibly run down and decrepit. More than the one in anatomy, but the sense of loneliness is more than present in both. I wouldn't be surprised if this was another inspiration for the game, along with one more story we'll talk about in a bit. Booting the game back up again, we get the same VHS screen, except more corrupted this time around. Not only is the house darker, but the droning sound is also much louder. Like, a lot louder. Can you even hear me? The tapes have also been corrupted. They're the same ones we've heard before, except a lot more distorted. After playing the dining room tape, shit starts getting freaky, as now every door in the house is unlocked and we're free to explore as we please. This is when we realize that it's not just the VHS tape or the cassettes we collect that are glitching. It's the house itself. Objects start clipping through walls and paintings flicker. There's doors where doors shouldn't even be. And this house is starting to feel aggressive. A particularly jarring tape is one we find in the smaller bedroom, presumably that of a child, in which the tape is a really crusty recording of a child saying a prayer. Now this prayer in particular basically asks of God for safety at night, much like how the narrator said earlier that we ask of the house to protect us at night as we sleep. Once more, we walk around and collect more tapes, each one still corrupted. However, one of them stands out. As a garbled tape gets cut off, we hear a different voice.
I dreamed that there are teeth growing all over me.
That of a woman who begins to tell us a story about how she had a dream that teeth were growing all over her, inside and out. That's when she sees a man through the bedroom window, entering the house through the front door. He ridicules it and destroys it, even pissing on the walls at one point. The new narrator gets angry and shuts the door of the basement behind the man, causing him to fall down the stairs and break all of his bones. She now starts using the plural we instead of the singular I. The man supposedly dissolves. The woman kept the basement door shut and once again closed her eyes, going back to using I instead of we. At this point, the doors start opening by themselves for us, and as we head inside the basement once again, the game abruptly closes. Yet another boot up, and now the title screen is even more distorted. We're immediately placed in the master bedroom and everything is even more wrong than before. There's a red light throughout the entire house, and all the objects are clipping and flickering even more than before. Gruesome paintings cover the walls and doors all the time. Instead of the TV showing the input screen like earlier, there's a red one. Sound blaring from the TV as the screen reads. There's these strange lines protruding the hallways and rooms, and as we race to put the tapes in the player, we only hear a mess of sounds and screams, the game no longer telling us that there's more tapes to be found, but rather that it hurts. After bringing the final tape, the entrance to the room is blocked off with a fleshy mass, and the only way we can go is down into the basement once again. We're trapped down here, and the original narrator's voice starts blaring in the room, letting us know that there's something we've overlooked while trying to find meaning behind the tapes. We're not alone here. It's not that we're not alone, nothing's in the house with us. We are inside another living being. The entire time we were being stalked, but not watched. Literally every single step of ours was felt inside of the house. And there is only one last thing we hear as the basement starts growing more and more teeth across the ceiling and the floors.
Because the truth is this. When a house is both hungry and awake, every room becomes a mouth.
One of the perhaps most influential haunted house stories would be The Haunting of Hill House, a 1959 book written by Shirley Jackson, which would go on to be adapted as the movie The Haunting, which Martin Scorsese ranked as one of the scariest films of all time. So that says a lot about the quality of the story. As Kitty Horror Show confirmed herself, the book serves as the main inspiration for Anatomy, and in it, Hill House is described as a confusing mess. The architecture is strange, and it's purposely hard to follow along how the characters move throughout it. Not helping this is the fact that our protagonist, Eleanor, is an unreliable narrator. So many of the odd occurrences that happen are questioned, and even us as the reader can interpret which things are real and which were hallucinations. While there are spirits and ghosts in the book, the Hill House is very much a character of its own. Even from the opening lines, we can discern that Hill House is alive, albeit not sane. One sort of similar story would also be The House of Leaves, in which we can see a house with even more fucked up architecture, and if you crave to experience that in video game form, some of the best examples would be Control, the Mario 64 mod B3313, which I also have a video on, and myhouse.wad, a Doom map. This is all to say that there are many ways to interpret a haunted house, and even more ways to interpret how it acted if it were alive. Alive and angry. Angry that it was abandoned by people who brought it to life, which is another theme we can see in the previously mentioned game I'm Scared, and of course, Anatomy. Anatomy focuses more on the paranoia aspect of being alone in this place, and even more so, it focuses on how it feels to fulfill your purpose, and yet still be abandoned when you're deemed as no longer necessary. The game masterfully uses its medium to convey the same feelings as the characters do in The Haunting of Hill House. You feel the constant anxiety Eleanor does throughout the story, and always think there's gonna be something around each new door, and yet nothing is ever there because you have already been found out. On the other end, the tapes we listened to at the start could very well be from one of the house's old inhabitants. However, seeing how they were abandoned, they now belong to the house, and the narrator speaking directly to us in the end basically spells it out that this is the voice of the house talking to us. Or is it? The voice of the woman we hear telling the story is also clearly the house. She mentions growing teeth all over her body, much like how every room of the house becomes a mouth. And her using the plural we could mean perhaps she speaks of each individual room, perhaps of all the different voices it has collected. We simply don't know. Turning the game back on again, we see the same screen we did on the TV earlier. The red one with the words "You never came back," followed by being dropped off in this surreal area, the lines we saw throughout the house flickering around us as we're trapped on the shore of a lake, in the middle of which is the house we've been inside this whole time. This whole visual is eerily similar to Kitty's other game, Lethargy Hill, in which the entire time there's an ominous house on the hill, looking down at us. The same black lines that were inside the house that are currently all around us were also all over that game. Now, I spent an embarrassing amount of time in this area, not realizing I was supposed to go to the middle of the lake to the house. But once I finally figured that out, I entered the house from below, through the front door, and this is when we get one final monologue from the tapes, coming from the voice of the woman again. This probably being the actual regular voice of the house talking to us.
While a house may hunger, it cannot starve. And so, in fever and anger and loneliness, it may simply lie in wait, doors open, shades drawn, hallways empty,
hungry.
While it's obvious from our perspective that the main horror theme of the game would be the fear of not being just inside a haunted house, but inside the monster who can devour us at any second, if we look at things from the house's perspective, there's an entirely different theme here. The horror of purpose is perhaps the best way to describe what the house we explore has gone through. As previously mentioned, it was created, it served its purpose without making a single mistake, and it still got left behind and abandoned by those who made it. Now, the house is constantly hungry, waiting to devour the humans who left it. And because of not being sane, it devours anyone who enters it. If you want to go even deeper into theorizing, we can also find a meta-narrative in the story. The house obviously acts as an anglerfish, the tapes we collect being a stand-in for the little lights those creepy fuckers have. The house keeps whoever we're playing as inside using their curiosity, and eventually it closes down and kills them. However, consider that we're still just watching tapes. Everything we play through has already happened in the year 1994, and if we take into account that during the game we can see the same screen of the TV as the one that flashes in front of us near the end, this can mean that whoever is watching these tapes is currently the house's next victim, this time using videotapes instead of audio ones. As the years go by, the house will remain dormant, hungry, devouring whoever is unfortunate enough to step into its jaws. And who knows, maybe the next iteration of its lure is exactly this, a game. A game meant to keep you just invested enough until the very room you're in becomes a mouth, which closes down on you, devouring you whole. And that's Anatomy. I didn't go over everything in this video as I feel like it'd be the whole point of actually playing the games yourselves, but just know that there are 2 more endings in the game, which I didn't feature here because I want all of you to actually go out and play the game. Again, itch.io, it's only $3. If you found this video interesting, please go and try the game. Kitty Horror Show is an amazing writer and has an extensive library of horror games. So if you found the whole concept of Anatomy fun, I'm sure there are way more games of hers that you'll find fun as well. With all of that out of the way, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, consider liking and subscribing, and if you didn't like it, you can dislike. Follow me on social media, there's a link to my Discord server in the description below, and a special thank you to all the patrons over on Patreon and the channel members here on YouTube, with a special thank you to ItsSeanIGuess. For just $1 a month, you get access to videos 1 day early and get to chat in the super secret channel in the Discord where I share progress on upcoming videos. So yeah, that's about it. Bye bye.